Okay, here is speedrun of table soccer. The lambdas and VBA you can download at a link in the description. All right, if it lands on this cell, which player is going to get it? Well, going to make a little thing here on the field. My X2 call lambda just turns this into a lookup table. And then look up the cell. That is now here, and then return on the player number, which is there. And that's level 1. All right, so now we're going to start kicking. So the kick is here, right? Now I'm going to separate it. There's a little space in between the two components of it. So I'm going to split it based on the space. And then the reference, right? It says in the instructions it starts at F20. So I'm going to use my arrow move lambda here, right? So starting at the starting reference, the arrow here is on the left, and then I got only numbers, just picks out the numbers from this. So that should do an arrow move for me, and that's the reference the ball ends up in. Then I'm going to do the same thing again here, but for this kick and this reference. And that's where it's going to end up. And now I need to be the player, right? So I need to find the player. So I look up the reference, right, which is now J30, back on here, and give me the player, which is B8. So there's level 2. Level 3 is the same, but now the blue team goes backwards. So this -1 is going to represent the blue team, and 1's going to be the red team. So all I got to do now is just multiply my numbers by the team. So that way it's going to reverse it if the blue team has the ball. And I also need to use the right starting cell, right? F1. And then the player that ends up with the ball is R3. All right, now we're going to kick 5 times. So I got to transpose these kicks here. Just 1 row, please. And the rest of this, it starts on F20, right? And it starts with the red team this time. All right, but now the player, it's going to settle in and go to these cells where the players actually are. They're going to kick from these cells, right? So I'm going to call one of these a player, right? So I'm going to make a new version of the field of where the players are standing when they kick the ball as opposed to, where they get the ball from. All right, so F2, the player is if this space here has a player in it, then it's going to give us the player code, otherwise nothing. All right, so now if I put that in, that's the locations that the players are going to kick from, also goes over here. So on my level with the kicks here, right? So now ref 3 is where the player is going to kick from. So I got to look up the new player and see where they're going to kick from. So I look up the player, right, and find the new reference. So they're going to kick from F3. That is now going to be the starting point for the next kick. And then the team is going to be based on that. So if, left of the player code here is B, then that means it's the blue team is -1, otherwise 1. Right, so that's team. This stuff is the same here, except it's based on this kick, right? So that's based on that kick. This stuff is all the same. Do that. Team numbers are good. And the player who ends up with the ball is B9. All right, so for level 5, now we're going to do a lot more kicks, right? So from G all the way to CR. And we got to worry about, well, we got to change our start first, right? So it actually starts on F11 this time. And what team has the ball? Still red. All right, but now we got to check for goals. So I can't do this with arrow move because my arrow, oh, we got to check for out of bounds also, because it's going to go out of bounds. So if it's going to, my arrow move does check for out of bounds. So I'm going to tell it that we're A1 to K20, and it will know to not go out of bounds, and it will go as close, it will go as far as it can without going out of bounds, right? So all I got to do is tell it that the field is A1 to K20, right? And same thing over here. And it will know not to go out of bounds for me, right? The other thing I have to deal with is goals, because it's not, it can't go, even if I leave out the board, it's not going to go above row 1. So because the sheet is the goal, is the farthest the board can go. So I'm gonna have to do numbers for this. So I'm gonna use ref to RC, right? To see where the kick would go if there were no boundaries. And based on that, I can tell if it's a goal. All right, so based on this starting reference, those are the coordinates, and just this once, I'm gonna put it out on a row. So now to that, I've got to add these kicks, right? So I'm going to look up the left. This is the arrow, right? So I got my arrows, which tells me the row and column deviations for the different arrows, right? So that times the only numbers, right? So the number part of it tells me how far it's going to go, and also the team tells me what direction it's going to go in, right? So that's the first kick. And the second kick is this one, right? So now I can just basically add these together, right? So to keep this neat, I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to put it all in one cell here. So I take these, add these 3 arrays together, and now I've got the row and the column, right? All this goes down, and the team has to go down. And now I need to figure out if it's a goal. So for it to be a goal, it has to be both in the middle and above or below the field, right? So to be in the middle, let's say, in order to be in the middle, it's got to be a couple things, right? So the column number has got to be greater than or equal to 5. And the column number has got to be less than or equal to 7. And then it's also got to be off, got to be high or low. So, or the row number, M30, has got to be less than 1, or the row number M30 has got to be greater than 20. All right. If that whole thing is true, then we've got a goal. So you know, I'm going to do 1 for a goal and 0 for no goal. And this is kick number, right? Because that's going to be my answer, is what kick number do we get a goal on? So I just transpose these kick numbers. Now I look up 1 for a goal on the goal list, returning on the kick list. And if it's missing, right, it says in the instructions here, if no goals are scored, type 91 is your answer. So there's a goal on round 9. All this is right. I've got 1,000 points so far. All right. How many people are there on the stadium tab? Well, let's just count if, right? It's no problem. So count if that and the person there is 752 people. All right, total revenues. I'm going to make a couple copies of this thing just to make it a little easier on myself. Call that S2 for Stadium 2. I'm going to call this S3 for Stadium 3. Now I'm going to deal with these colors first here. I'm colorblind. I can't even tell what these colors are, but you know who can tell what these colors are? My right background color subroutine can tell what those colors are. So now and for this, I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call that a person, right? So now starting here, so because notice some of these cells are empty, so I got to check for the person, right? You see these tickets, like nobody's buying these tickets because they're empty, so I got to check for the people. All right, so if that cell is a person, then I'm going to look up the color on these colors locked, returning on the dollars locked, right? Otherwise, no money, no person, no money. All right, so fill that in and take a look at this. Like, see these zeros? They don't have people in them, but these, there's the expensive box seats. This all looks right. So highlight it and check the sum here. 149550. 149550. All right, total number of goals scored in all the matches level 5 here. Instead of stopping at the first goal, we're going to have to follow the reset rules. All right, so I'm going to make a new copy of this and call it bonus 3. So now I'm going to put a reset here. So let's do ifs, right? So ifs that is not a goal, then reset is blank. If it is a goal and the team is the red team, then what do the instructions say? If the red team scores, then we place it on F10. Otherwise, that's got to be the blue team scoring, so we place it on F11. So that's my resets here. And then this reference, the starting point, is only going to be that if it's not a reset. So if the goal is scored, then it's going to be the reset. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing as it used to be. And I copy that down. And now instead of the first turn that there's a goal, I want to know the number of goals. And I use my what if table to calculate that. And I see that there are 61 goals. Stop. 12 minutes, 53 seconds. Thank you for watching.